Hey guys, it's Holly and I am super excited to share with you guys my review of the brand new LEGO Harry Potter Hogwarts Hospital Wing. Now this is set 76398. Now this set does contain 510 pieces and will be retailing for $50 US and 80 Australian, which I honestly feel at the moment at least seems pretty reasonable. It also expands upon the sort of modular system that was introduced for the Harry Potter 20th anniversary, and just like those sets, actually does come along with 2 chocolate frog cards. I'm really excited to crack this set open and show you guys, so let's go have a look. So here is the clock tower all built up, and first off, I feel like from the outside alone, this is definitely one of the better looking of the modular Hogwarts line. I feel like the exterior definitely has a lot more going on, a lot more detail, and I'm really happy about that. The inside though, not too sure, but before we have a look at the actual build, let's take a look at the new minifigures. So first up is the brand new Madame Pomfrey minifigure, and I absolutely love her. This is definitely what I am most excited for with this set. I love the use of the Leia Organa skirt piece. I think it works perfectly in combination as well with this brand new torso print. It looks gorgeous. There's some really nice back printing here too, but the best part is her new molded headpiece, which is absolutely perfect. I love how you've got the hair and you've got the little white of the hat. It works amazing, and it's really good to see that LEGO did put that same amount of care and detail that I feel like we usually get with, oh dear, Madame Pomfrey. As I was saying, the same amount of care and detail that LEGO usually puts into Harry Potter, but obviously not the same amount of care that I put into handling my minifigures. Madame Pomfrey also comes with an alternate face, which is a misprint on my end. It's very, very low on the back of her head. Yeah, I've had a lot of mistakes with my particular set, but hopefully this doesn't happen for many other people. I mean, with the hair, it doesn't quite look as bad, but when you sort of look at the head on its own, it looks like, oh my gosh. It makes it look like she's got a giant forehead, which hopefully is protecting her from all of the falls I'm giving her. I'm so sorry, Madame Pomfrey. Next up, we have Harry Potter, and it's really interesting with this set that Harry, Ron, and Hermione all have different versions of their torsos that were all featured in Hagrid's hut. It's all a lot dirtier, a lot more roughed up, which I really appreciate, just that sort of extra care and detail. I would have been perfectly fine and honestly expected them to reuse those torsos, but it's really awesome to get an update sort of featuring the dramatic adventure that just unfolded in front of their eyes. Otherwise, the Harry minifigure is exactly the same. He's got his classic sort of angry head on the backside, and the torso is really the only thing that's special or unique. Next up, we have Ron, complete with his little walking stick as well as a white leg to represent his cast, which I think is absolutely hilarious. Ron this time around as well, his sweatshirt is actually bright red instead of dark red, so his is a bit more of a dramatic sort of change here, which I think still works well. I mean, I personally preferred the dark red one, but at least it's got like different printing and different roughed up detailing, and just like Harry, he sort of got his regular old head here with the more angry side on the back, which definitely represents his mood as his friends go off on a time travel adventure without him. And lastly, we have Hermione Granger, who comes complete with this little hand bandage to hold, and on her other hand, she's actually got this brand new printed time turner piece. I love the way this looks. I love how it reflects in the sun as well, or just the lights in general, and underneath it's actually placed with a regular gold stud, which sort of brings out the color of it a tiny bit more. Her torso printing as well, just like the other two, is a bit more roughed up and dirty, which I personally really like, and I'm glad that they did take the time turner away as well, since she is holding it in her hand in this scene instead of having it printed twice. I feel like that would have been a tiny bit awkward. And then just like the rest of the characters, she's got the same head and hair as usual, so there's nothing too special there, but I'm really glad that we got the time turner print. I really didn't expect LEGO to do something like that. So before we take a look at the hospital wing, I want to show you all of the cute little side builds, as well as my 2 chocolate frog cards that I received in this set, which unfortunately this mini wave doesn't have any new ones, so I've completed them all, so these are just going to go with my spares. And then there are these 4 little side builds, starting off with this tiny little gold lantern, which looks pretty cute. There's also one of the brand new chess pieces, complete with definitely some of the best items in this set, which is that brand new Bertie Bott's piece topped with one of those red pyramid pieces, and then this brand new printed exclusive Skelly Grow round 1x1. I love this piece so much. The build for it as well is incredibly clever, using one of those baby heads, which is actually printed to be like a skeleton, which I love. I wish it came with 2 bottles of these, and I do hope they bring this piece back. I'd hate for it to stay exclusive in this set because I would just love to have a whole collection of them. I absolutely love the Birdie Bots piece as well. I think the printing is amazing. I just wish it did cover all 4 sides, or at least 2 of them. It feels a bit of a waste just to have the one, but either way, I think this looks amazing, and I can't believe it took this long. Inside the trunk though, there isn't anything else. Next up is this little hospital banner, which does come with 2 stickers. You only get 1 build in this set. It would have been nice, again, to have 2, but I'm not really probably going to keep it hanging around. I mean, it's not even like able to be attached to anything on the bottom because it's actually built up with one of those sign pieces to sort of keep it standing, which works really well, but if you wanted to attach it to anything, you really can't do that. And then lastly, there is a little candy cart with like a bunch of potions as well as a chocolate bar, which some of the characters could push if you want. It's a neat little side build, but I feel like it was kind of unnecessary. However, at least this one can attach to the build, which is quite nice. And I really love the bright colors overall. It's pretty neat, but I'm probably just gonna toss it in a container somewhere. And then we have the hospital wing itself, which actually does come along with these brand new recolored open owl pieces, which I think is really neat. I absolutely love the recoloring of this piece. I think it looks amazing and it's a really neat addition that I just sit on top of the roof. Now this particular version of Hogwarts is done in 4 different sections. So firstly, you have this middle piece, which is all one thing and actually has a play feature which I will show you later. Then there are these 2 side roof pieces, which are built exactly the same. And then this whole bottom section is built up of 1 piece. Now you can actually move it around by taking off this sort of brick built piece right in the middle. And then this whole thing can sort of twist in if you want to. I mean, to me, this kind of looks a bit awkward. I like how they've got it on the box where it's like a tiny slight angle. I think that looks really cool. And I'm glad that there was the option to sort of keep it all attached together for when you do sort of incorporate this with the remaining modular system. Or if you've just got it on its own, you sort of have a bit more flexibility and freedom to move around with. Now I really like the exterior of this building. I think it looks really neat. I love the archway designs, although it did get very repetitive when building this very bottom section, considering you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. It just got a tiny bit tiresome, but luckily it didn't last for too long. I love how the peaks on either of the sides do have that little green drill hole piece to sort of top it all off. You've also got some more angled roof pieces. And it's interesting as well having these windows be that white sort of stained glass panel instead of usually what we see is like the black or things like that. I think it matches really well for the hospital wing. However, it does sort of stand out when you put it up against the rest of the Hogwarts pieces. Besides that, I really like this roof build as well. However, it does feel a tiny bit short. It would have been nice to sort of be built up a tiny bit taller, but also definitely a lot wider. That's one problem I kind of have with this set, is that the roof doesn't really fit. Unlike the rest of the Hogwarts sections, there's a lot of empty space at the back here, and you can really tell because you've still got all of those studs there in order to stick things onto. But moving up to the actual sort of clock tower portion, and firstly, I love how it's built up using these arch pieces here and really bringing it all the way to the top. Now this piece does sit quite far forwards in order to sort of match up with those little slope pieces. It's brought forward by about 2 or 3 studs, which is quite a lot to be honest with this modular system, but it's nothing too crazy. And overall, you get this giant printed clock piece, which I absolutely love, and I'm pretty sure this is the exact same one as well from the 2019 clock tower. There's also a printed 2x2 tile there to sort of all match it up, and I really like how this looks from afar, but when you get up close, you realize that this entire thing is hollow. There's nothing really built up the back there. The clock tower is really attached just sort of to that front piece. I wish this was brought forward a bit more so we could actually have an enclosed wall rather than this like fully open system. It feels like there's just tons and tons of space everywhere. Especially it's not nice because you can sort of see all of the bricks and the mechanism behind it, which I'm not a huge fan of, but I mean, it's alright, I guess. It kind of works. Now the clock handles as well are built out of a skeleton arm and one of those sort of like lollipop stud pieces with the little rod out the end. And moving on up to the top, you get a better look at the roof, which is all topped off with some green cone pieces, as well as the drill tops. Another one of those windows, which luckily the window pane matches the rest of the building. You've got some cheese slope decorations heading up there, and it all peaks up into a really nice top. Now, this piece actually in the center can move, and that is how you get the sort of play feature of the clock itself. Now, of course, in The Prisoner of Azkaban, Harry and Hermione do go back in time, so if you want to replicate that giant clock spinning, you can just twist this piece at the top and all of the hands move around, which is pretty neat, and I'm glad that they did include that play feature. However, I don't know if it's quite able to compensate sort of the gaps here and just how tall this giant piece is, I guess, in general. I think it's pretty neat. I'm probably not going to use it all too much. I sort of like keeping the time sort of around here, but I'm glad that LEGO did include it nevertheless. So turning it around to the inside, you can get a better look at this giant brick that's sort of keeping it all attached together. It's not quite the same as those like garage door rails that we had in the previous systems. Like this one is definitely just, it's a plain little old 1 by something or rather. I think that's like 12 studs or something, but it's all topped off with the same amount of tiles and sort of stud pieces. So it works well. And then you can sort of bend this building out a tiny bit and spread it out and just give it a tiny bit more space to play, which is something that I did want to talk about, is that this build feels like there's a lot of empty space. It sort of reminds me of Fluffy's Encounter again. Like the entire clock tower section is empty. The roofs don't actually come back all the way, like I said earlier, so it feels like that there's space just being underutilized. It would have been really good if it was one of these sort of square panels, like, you know, the ones that sort of have that tiny balcony. If the roof piece was built up on here, then at least you'd have a couple of extra studs to stick some minifigures on and sort of have the balcony. It also feel like it's just a tiny bit more complete. You could keep this same build going, but just have it really fleshed out, I feel like. Because while at least the bottom is decorated with 3 different beds with 2 bedside tables, it just feels very empty. There's not too much room to move around with. I mean, there are the beds where you can stick Ron and sort of have him in recovery here, but besides that though, there isn't too much space to move minifigures around. So I guess this sort of does act as a dollhouse set if you just use it and sort of play all in front of the space, and this is more of just your backdrop, I guess. Now on the front of this building, it does actually remind me of the Great Hall from the Chamber of Secrets set, as you've got one of the candles sort of clipped up here, as well as the heading up archway. And then just like the rest of the modular sections, you've got the little archways here and the Technic pins on the side in order to attach it to one another. Now on the inside, you'll see a bit more what I mean by this whole bottom section was very repetitive, as there are 3 different beds. There's also this stickered sort of like clipboard piece, which the instructions give to Madame Pomfrey, but I sort of like having it on the edge of the hospital bed personally. But each 3 of these bed builds are exactly the same. So sort of as you move along the set, you can see that the only real differences are the fact that 2 of them have a bedside table, one with a lamp and one with some flowers, and then the final one is pretty much the exact same, just with another golden lamp and no flowers. Now all of these beds, like I said, are built up the exact same. The first of the sort of railings is attached to the castle itself, with the front being situated right there. And then this entire middle bed section is actually separate from anything else. You've got the pillow at the top, the blue bed sheets just like in the movie, and the studs at the bottom in order to attach a character. And then the rest is just nothing too special. You stick it on the 2 studs in the middle of these plates, and that's about it. And when I say that's about it, I literally mean that's about it for the entire set. While I do like the design of the hospital wing here, especially when you sort of put the curtains in and decorate it a tiny bit, it overall feels just a little bit small. I mean, I'm really glad that we got 3 hospital beds, but I don't know, I just would have loved to have seen something more with the top half of this set. It feels incredibly underutilized and works really well from an exterior point of view, but unlike the rest of the modular sets, the interior here seems lacking, where usually the other modular sets, the interior seems to be thriving. I really do enjoy it, don't get me wrong, but it just feels a little bit empty to me. If you're a big fan of the modular system, I highly recommend this set. If you're like me and you sort of prefer that older system, I would still recommend this purely down to just the minifigures and the fact that this is a location we haven't gotten yet, which is really exciting for me personally. But let me know what you guys think about this set in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel down below for a lot more Harry Potter reviews and content. And until next time, guys, I'll see you later.